I've been fairly busy in the garden this weekend because we've got a couple of bank holidays. And I've got quite a lot done really. And I just thought I'd bring you up to date. As you know, I've been working on this area, this path area. And finally I've got the railway sleepers in. As you can see. And I've used a couple of old reclaimed ones. Well, 3 reclaimed ones. And all I've simply done is put those onto the soil surface because they don't need much more than that because they're already treated with creosote. So they're not going to rot. Certainly not in my lifetime. And so they don't really need any further treatment, but I've had to pin them into the corners and onto the ends, and that's as much as I need to do because they're so heavy that that's all that's required. Now I did pull my back the other day, quite severely actually, and it's slowed me down no end. But despite that, I've carried on and persevered and managed to get quite a lot done. Everything's growing in it. It's growing like mad at the moment. Today I've been out to an NGS garden, so that's the Yellow Book scheme. For those not living in the UK, we have a kind of a Yellow Book scheme where you go into it, if your garden's deemed good enough, you get put into this Yellow Book if you want to, and people come and visit you and pay an entrance fee for charity. So I've been up to such a garden today. I've been several times to this particular garden. I know the 2 gardeners there quite well. So I gave myself a break just to pop up there. And we were promised really hot weather this weekend, but as I said before, never believe the weatherman. They ain't got a clue what they're talking about. And so we never got any, as you can see from the grey skies. So I bought these 2. This is where I was leading to when I went to the NGS open garden. There's a chap there called Lincolnshire Plant Supports, and he's called Hugh, and he makes these, and they're brilliant. I love them, absolutely love them. So I bought 2, but I need 2 more now, and I've set them off on this corner, and finally this corner looks like it's finished. This is what it's been waiting for all this time, and they're really nice, these. They're not fully rusted yet. They are rusting, but they're not fully rusted yet. And I guess he must be a kind of a blacksmith. I'm not sure. But he makes some cracking stuff. And I really like them, so I got a couple. And I'm going to get a couple more. Now, since I last videoed, I've bought this. This is another Sorbus. I love Sorbus. And this particular one is one of the Commixter types. Let's have a look at it. Commixter, let's show you. And it's called Olympic Flame. Now the beauty of this one is, in autumn, as with a lot of Sorbuses, this has the most amazing colours, oranges, fiery oranges and fiery reds. And you can see it is gonna do that. You can tell sometimes just looking at the leaf that that's what it's gonna do. So I bought that one, and they're not cheap. What was that? 67, 68 quid. Not cheap, but well worth it. Now it's going to make a tight sort of columnar tree, and as we all know, I like columnar trees. And one of the reasons it's called what it's called, which is Olympic Flame, is because it looks like the Olympic torch. As you can see, look at that. It's amazing how it does this. And it stays quite columnar, as I said, and it has wonderful colours, and it's going to have more leaves than you're seeing at the moment. You can see they're all developing all the way around it at the moment. Here. And further down, further up, and it looks fantastic. I love it. Absolutely love that. So anyway, we'll go on to describing what I've done a little bit more. So I've been levelling this area out, which you can see. So we're levelled out now, and that took some doing. And I've decided that, well, I'd already decided this, that I was going to make this bank come down towards the path, which I've done now. The 2 bits of wood you can see there, they're just really they were there to guide me when I was raking. They're not going to remain there. They're going to be taken away, used elsewhere. But I've done a lot of planting in this area as I've been going along building this. So I've got no further than what you can see at the moment on this path, but I've levelled it. I'm quite happy with that. That's looking great. And as I said before, I'm going to make more of a square section here. So we're going to square it off. And I said before that I might use tiles, I might use bricks. I don't know yet. And we're going to make that look like a little square or an oblong. See what it turns out like. But what I've done is I've put this little iron fence there. And the reason I've done that is because I need to work out how I'm going to use that as a bit of a focal point. And I've got one or two ideas at the minute. I'm even considering blanking off that one and maybe in that one to a degree. Now I was hoping that the roses was going to do, well, the roses are going to do that over time. But if I want to move things on a little bit faster, then I'm going to have to think clever about that one. I've got several ideas in my head at the moment I'm thinking about. I could even put another gate in there and actually use that, open that back up and have a gate in there and have that as a walkway through. But I don't know yet. I'm not sure. I just want to play with a few ideas. So this end, this is what I'm going to be doing. This end, I've just done a little dummy mock-up of this, what I'm going to do. And those slates are going to be sunk into the ground. And they're going to go all the way along up to where the rectangle starts, which is over there where the cow drinker is. And that's where they're going to go up to. So they'll be sunk further in and they're just going to retain that soil. I didn't want to put another load of sleepers on that side because I just thought it looked nicer. So we're going to sink those in and then we're having a brick at the edge. And then in between all of those, we're going to put these quarry tiles and they're going to run all the way up there. All the way. And that brick will run all the way alongside the sleeper that side. So that is going to look really nice. This is what I'd envisaged when I first started this, although I actually thought the sleepers would be on the right-hand side. It made more sense to put them on the left-hand side, and they do work there. They're looking really good, really nice. I like them. So we've got to have a purpose for this. There's no point in putting a path in like this without purpose, and part of the purpose is that as you walk through this, as the Calamagrostis gets higher, and it'll get 6 or 7 foot by the time it sets its seeds, and it will get quite tall. And what I've done is I've put it both sides now. I've introduced a few onto this side just to give you just to keep a continuity of this. And this looks superb when it's in full seed anyway. And that won't be much longer before that actually happens. Another month and a half, it should be sending up its seeds. What are we now? April, May, June, maybe May, June time. End of May. And they should be up and away. So I've jiggled around. I've moved the Phyllictrinellin, which is quite a tall growing plant. Now, as you probably can't remember, it was over there. It was actually in there. And although it was right there, it was a little bit too close to the deck for my liking, and it wouldn't have got as much sun as it would, well, not require, but like. So I've moved it here. It's quite happy. It's taken quite well. I moved it a couple of days ago, and it's looking very happy indeed. So I've moved other bits and bobs around, and that bamboo that I was going to use up the top as a screen, finally decided that, well, I'm not going to use it there now. It's not going to be there. I've planted it there. I've actually got 2 of them. In fact, I can't remember if I've actually mentioned this on YouTube. I think I did an Instagram on this. So I'll just go through it just in case I didn't. So I bought these 2 bamboos with the intentions of putting them in those 2 containers. And I was eventually going to build a container for the side there. And the reason I'm putting them there was to help diffuse the wind, because it's a bit of a wind tunnel, this section here. And it whips over that hedge down here. And as I've said many times, I probably won't use that, or nobody will use that decking on windy days because it'll just be too windy. So we needed to address the problem. I think I've gone back to plan A. I don't know why I don't stick with plan A every time, because every time I revert back to my plan A's. And that's what I'm going to do here. So we're going back to the idea of having some sort of an archway between the wall and the brick wall. So the back wall and the brick wall and archway. Now, today I've been looking at it while I've sat down with a cup of tea on one of my many cups of tea, or many cups of teas. I decided that actually that there may look good with a tiny fence along it. So I might, along the top of the wall, I might put a 2 or 3 foot fence going across there, and that'll distract the eye from all of what's going on behind it, which is that. And I mean, let's face it, we've all got these areas, and I've got these areas of sort of messy bits and bobs. I have to put stuff somewhere, and at the moment that's where it's going. It's a good seating area, that at the back, and it's good for late evening because we get a lot of the sun coming over there. But for now, I'm just dumping stuff there and moving it, and then I have to move it again and move it again, and it's a bit annoying. But I really think that something along the top of that wall would look really good. Some wooden structure, some wooden fence, just to complement the floating deck. And I think that's going to look really good. And I've got a good idea on what I'm going to do with it, how I'm going to do it, and how I'm going to execute it. So that's another little project that'll be underway very soon. So it's looking really nice now. The growth is away. And this Calamagrostis now, this Cal Forster, don't forget it's sterile. I keep saying this, it's sterile, great grass to have. It's not going to cause any problems whatsoever. So if you're scared of ornamental grasses, get that one. It's not going to seed around. And I've planted other bits and bobs. There's Persicaria, which is polymorpha, or the other accepted name is Alpina. So if you look that up, it's tiny at the moment, but it'll fill this section. Remember last year I had Eupatorium in there called Gateway, and that looked really good, but that's now been moved over here. So those dead twigs, that one, and another one in there are all now there, and they're all going to grow up to about the height they're at now. That'll be more mid to late summer. They'll do that, and they'll look good. They'll have purple domed heads, and the butterflies and the bees will love them. Particularly the bees, they will absolutely love that. And it's got a nice scent, hence me putting it next to the floating deck. So, what else have I done? Well, this is it's a grid, isn't it? It's an iron grid. And today I finally decided that that's where it's going to live. And the reason being that I could not find anywhere else where it would suit, and I've just been hoiking it around for the last 2 years. That particular grid. It used to cover a cellar in a big massive house, which was pointless really because the rain used to actually go through it. But I brought it here, and it weighs a ton. Not literally, but it's very, very heavy indeed. And I've just simply put it here to act as another point of interest. Now, the interesting thing is going to be is that the Astrantia, which is there, and there's nothing else in there at the moment, but the Astrantia will grow to halfway up that at least, and then behind it we've got, I'm hoping at the moment there is Elianthus Cape Nook Star. That's what I'm hoping is in them twigs behind it. It's looking promising because everything else I planted that I forgot what they were, they are turning out to be what I thought they were. So there's a good chance that is Elianthus Cape Nook Star. So imagine once they get going, the yellow sunflower heads will come above that grid. So when you sat on the deck itself, they'll sit to about here. They'll sit up there, and they'll be sort of that sized sunflower heads that look absolutely beautiful, and they really are a really bright yellow. So that should help to make that look, well, it'll make it look even more interesting once they're away and start growing. And then you'll see the reason that I've really put that grid there. It'll just make so much sense. Put the Taxus baccata standishi. I've moved these two several times, so there's one there now. There's one over there. I've moved them a few times, haven't I? I used to have them between those two gate posts that you can see there and there. Then I moved them over to the front of this section, or to the back of that section. Then I moved them over to here. And hopefully that's where they're going to stay, but who knows? They could be moved right after I stop filming this. but hopefully not. So it's looking good. There's only so much I can do. We're expecting rain tomorrow. So I've said to myself, tomorrow I've got to give myself a day off from doing any more. Let my back have a rest. It's actually eased off today. So hopefully that'll be okay. But I really, let's go back to these again. God, I really do like these. You can look this chap up, Lincolnshire Plant Supports. He's on Instagram. He's on there. I don't know if he delivers or if he sends them through the post. But they really are good. He makes loads of different fancy supports. And his prices are pretty good as well. Well, for Lincolnshire, because people up in Lincolnshire tend to overprice things. Anyway, so we've moved bits and bobs around. So let's show you some other bits while we're here. We'll just have a look here, through here. So it's going to look, it is going to work. It's going to work a treat, that. And who knows, I might just open up that grid there to allow you to walk through, but I don't really want to, because as I said before, the whole idea is that to be covered in roses and cloaked in it, so it distracts your view that way. And sometimes we become a bit impatient and end up changing things. This is the look I want. Like this Gertrude Jekyll rose here, that's the look I'm going for. And that's only a year and a half in now, and it's doing well. And hopefully Dublin Bay is okay. And I think Rosa Moisei is actually coming back again. I think I've done the right thing putting it into a pot, because it's started to send out a leaf. So all is not lost, hopefully. We've not done too much in here at the moment. I still can't remember what this sanguisova is. I actually think it's Haku sinensis, the Japanese one, the really pink one. Like there's a popular one called lilac squirrel, and it could be that one. I'm not sure. I've had the ordinary one and I've had the lilac squirrel. So I've moved one or two bits out of here. So where you can see the darker patches of soil, I've been moving stuff, and that's what I do. You've got to do this. You can't just leave things stale all the time. If you think there's somewhere else it could better be, then really you should really be doing that and moving it. So I think I'm getting there on this section now. I'm really happy with this section. This was probably one of the areas that I wasn't happy with until firstly we put the floating deck in, and then I put the path in, and now it's starting to make sense. As you can see, it just didn't do it for me at first, even with the planting. And I know a lot of plants people will just simply put plants in there, but you do need man-made features to make it look nice. And I love that. It just looks great from all angles. And if I can't show it at night, but at night time it has a net curtain of fairy lights all over it that look really nice, that light up. I'm hoping eventually to get myself a bit of a floodlight to light all this area up in the summer, because floodlights can add real interest. But who knows? So the other thing I've been doing, as we know, I've been doing these feeders as planters, these cow feeders, and that's what they were. They were cow feeders. You put in a barn through the fences, and the cows would stick their head through the fence and eat out of these. I've reclaimed them, and they're looking okay. So this one's just got a geranium in at the minute, and we've got a fern to go in and a cotoneaster. Now the cotoneaster is what I guess some people call it the fishbone cotoneaster, because it looks like a fishbone. And I'm going to allow it to grow up this wall, because you can see there's been something up this wall, and I seem to remember that was a rose. I think that was a rose of some description. You can see all those little lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that up there against there, because this has a wonderful colour as autumn approaches. It goes really bright red. All those leaves are bright red, and it has the bright red berries on them as well, and they're really nice as well. Good for the birds. So I'm going to put that in there somewhere. The fern's going in. I've got other things to do at the minute. We've also got the lily of the valley. Let's show you. Lily of the valley. Terrible plant to get, but Kathy wanted one, so I've got to appease her and I bought that. But they are lovely scents, but they're very, very invasive. So we're going to contain it in here and hopefully the seeds won't pop out and float all over the place and wreck the rest of my garden. So that one's not finished yet, but this one is. And this is what you can do with it. And here's the finished one. Also finished that this afternoon. So it ties in nicely with this gravel path, simply because I put a topping on it of the same gravel. And we've got different plants in here that are all going to be great under this situation where it is. We get the east sun in the morning, and then over the day that disappears. So by about midday, maybe 1 o'clock, it's got completely gone from this area. So these plants will love it, absolutely love it. I've got that astrantia in there. There's also the anemone, a ruffled swan, that I've took out of the pot today, and it appears that it might have gone to meet its maker. So I've had to put this astrantia a bit closer than I wanted to it because I've got this feeling that it has died. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to really go poking about at the minute because these things can come back. So I've left it alone. I've got the euphorbia, amidagloides, purpurea, which is beautiful. They're absolutely stunning. And then we've got Brunera, and this is Jack Frost. Although there's little at the moment, these leaves, once the flowers have gone, as you're all probably aware, the forget-me-not flowers disappear. And then what you should do, I'll just show you over here, you should take away the flowering stem completely, and then these leaves will then start developing really big. And that's a really nice variety. I've got several. I've got Sea of Hearts, and I've got Alexander's Great, which is my favourite, to be honest. Jack Frost is good, another good one, and I do quite like it. There's another one called Looking Glass. There's several new cultivars around, and I really do like it. And it'll get plenty of sun early on in the morning. Don't really need it. And then it gets loads of shade as the day goes on. We've got a vinca here, and it's Astropurpurea, or Astropurpureum, I think it is. And it's lovely. It's not a really invasive one. It's a minor, a vinca minor, and I've contained it, so we're not going to have problems with it. And then I've got this Oster now, which is going to look really good in here. This is Big Daddy. I love Osters. I love Alcyon. I love Big Daddy. I love the bluer forms. I tend to shy away from the variegated forms. I think I've got a couple of variegated ones around. I tend to shy away from those. So that's that one planted up. And I'm really happy with that. A simple process, but one that's well worth it. So this one's going to be planted next. I may not use these plants. I'll definitely use the Cotoneaster. I may not use the fern. The geranium, I don't know what the geranium is. It came in as a self-set into one of my Calamagrostis. So I've moved it there. Not 100% sure which one it is. Let's hope it's not one that prefers all the sun. Time will tell on that one. So as for the rest of the garden, not really done anything with the rest of the garden. Really wanted to show you what I'd done with that path. But the Rheum palmatum is doing well. I've finally taken away that euphorbia, which was Amidagloides purpurea, and I clipped it back. Took the dead spent flowers off of it, because there's some from last year, and I managed to make it look really nice. I love euphorbias, especially Wolfenii types. Absolutely love them, like this one here. Just a selected seedling, that one. But it's really nice. And then we've got the Bob Brown selection there, which is even nicer. Now it's got some floppy sections on it, and I suspect it's because it got hit by frost. But it'll be fine, it'll come back. So I think most of the planting's done here. I'd like to add some fillers, to be quite honest with you. I could do with more. I could do with some geraniums in here. I've just put one in here. This is Silestemon, which I absolutely love. It's quite a tall one. I'd like a ground-hugging one in here. And other bits and bobs of geraniums, but we'll leave it at the moment. We'll leave it as it is. We've got one or two. But this is the euphorbia I was going to show you, so I clipped it back. And really, that one should have gone as well. I've missed that one. And one there, that should have gone. But they look good, so as soon as you clip them back in, this is how beautiful they can look, and they really are nice. And when they're cold, it goes even more purple. But obviously, we're getting past that stage now. And it will go into sort of wishy-washy purpley green as we get going. So, that's what I've been up to this weekend, despite the bad back. One final look at it for you and show you what I've been doing. So I look forward to doing the path itself. That's when it's really going to come to life. Not that it isn't already, but it's really going to set it off. And I shall show you the procedure I do, because I know some of you like to know how to do these things. And we will show you that as and when I do it. Okay. Thanks for watching again. Hope you enjoyed that video. Hope I didn't go on too long again, as I do. And if you've made it to this stage, well done. Give yourselves a pat on the back. I know I'll go on. But anyway, right, okay. I'll talk to you later. Ta-da.